June 14th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with President Yoon's Uzbekistan state visit. The South Korean leader is now in Uzbekistan for the third and final stop of his week-long Central Asia trip. He'll be looking to clinch cooperation in energy, supply chains, and core minerals. The U.S. and Ukraine sealed a bilateral security pact that ensures 10 years of Washington's security commitment to Ukraine. G7 leaders also agreed to lend Ukraine $50 billion using frozen Russian assets. The South Korean government remains firm about how strictly it will respond to illegal acts related to doctors' collective action ahead of their planned mass walkouts next week. Medical professors at Saram National University are holding a press conference to explain themselves this afternoon. President Yoon will be sitting down for a summit with his Uzbek counterpart today. He's hopeful Seoul's special strategic partnership with Uzbekistan will scale up their cooperation in energy and critical minerals. Our Oh Soo-young starts us off.
President Yoon Suk-yeol plans to ramp up South Korea's special strategic partnership with Uzbekistan through stronger cooperation in resources and infrastructure, as well as cutting-edge technology. In a written interview with an Uzbek media outlet published Thursday, ahead of his state visit to the Central Asian country, Yoon said he aims to bolster bilateral ties to become more mutually beneficial and future-oriented. Since establishing diplomatic ties in 1992, South Korea and Uzbekistan have broadened the scope of their economic cooperation to include automobiles, energy, electronics, textiles, finance and telecommunications, with bilateral trade hitting an all-time high of $2.46 billion last year. Yoon said his three-day visit will aim to build on the two countries' special strategic partnership forged in 2019 and establish close cooperation on energy, infrastructure and supply chains, and crucially, critical minerals to power Korea's high-tech industries, including semiconductors. The president highlighted advanced digital technology and AI semiconductors as key areas of collaboration. In a summit with Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev and a bilateral business forum scheduled Friday, Yoon also plans to back Korean companies in their efforts to secure local energy and infrastructure projects and make inroads into other industries.
So far, Korea-Uzbekistan relations have made remarkable progress centered on the energy and infrastructure fields. And today, cooperation is expanding to more diverse fields such as supply chains, healthcare, climate change, education, and public administration.
Acknowledging the 170,000 ethnic Koreans living in Uzbekistan, Yoon described it as a brother nation, as it's the only country in the region that has a special strategic partnership with Korea. He also pledged greater interest and support for overseas Koreans going forward. President Yoon says he hopes the two sides will create a 21st century Silk Road through broader cooperation and human exchanges in cutting-edge fields, and as core partners of Seoul's new K-Silk Road initiative designed to boost engagement with Central Asian countries in economic security, development and culture. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Tashkent.
And in light of President Yoon's visit to Central Asia, we must mention Koryo Saram, meaning ethnic Koreans living in Central Asia. Our correspondent Song Yu-jin explains how they've laid out a bridge between South Korea and the region.
The term Koryo Saram, meaning Koryo people, has two meanings. One refers to those who lived in the ancient Koryo kingdom on the Korean peninsula around 1,000 years ago. The other refers to ethnic Koreans who lived in the former Soviet Union and their descendants. Currently, there are around 500,000 Koryo Saram worldwide, with approximately 300,000 residing in Central Asia.
They call themselves Koryo Saram because they came from Korea before it was divided into North and South. The name Korea is derived from Koryo, also romanized as Koryo.
The first records of Koryo Saram date back to 1864 when, due to economic hardships, around 60 Koreans from Hamgyongdo province crossed the Tuman River to settle in Russia's Far East Primorsky Krai. Historians say this marked the start of Korean emigration. More people continued to move to the region, but in 1937, under Soviet leader Joseph Stalin's orders, over 200,000 Koryo Saram suspected of being Japanese spies were deported to Central Asia.
Forced relocation to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan was treacherous. In the initial years, mortality rates were high, especially among children and the elderly, due to the cold, harsh weather, and lack of necessary infrastructure.
Despite these challenges, Koryo Saram persevered through what experts call their diligence. Working on collective farms known as cohorts, they earned recognition and respect in their new homelands. Over time, many broadened their roles in society, becoming doctors, lawyers, teachers, and scientists.
The strong commitment of Koryo Saram to education was truly remarkable. They did everything they could to send their children to college, and if possible, even abroad to places like Moscow. Rather than staying in farming, these parents relentlessly pushed their children to pursue higher education.
What also makes Koryo Saram unique is how they preserve their Korean heritage and identity.
Their identity is maintained not through the most common ways of religion or language, but through traditional cultural practices. Even today, many Koryo Saram families follow traditional Korean customs in their daily lives, such as funeral ceremonies, often more intricately than those living in Korea, maintaining a sense of connection to their heritage.
Having endured more than a century-long journey of resilience and cultural preservation, Koryo Saram serve as a bridge between Korea and Central Asia. 송유진, Arirang News.
President Yoon's ambitious Central Asia trip is nearing an end with his last stop in Uzbekistan today. Let's look back on his week-long trip and what lies ahead for the last day with Professor Kim Dong-soo this morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. So numerous deals were inked this week, and there are more to come today. The question is, what took so long to reach all these agreements with Central Asian countries?
Yeah, actually, when it comes to diplomatic relations, the bilateral agreements need mutual interest. Mm-hmm. Indeed, for the past decades, both sides of South Korea and Central Asian countries have not found mutual interest, actually. This trend has changed recently. South Korea is looking for new opportunities in this area, such as natural resources and energy. And the Central Asian countries are also interested in South Korea's advanced technology and soft power.
So seeking mutual interest and also looking for that win-win situation here, President Yoon has held numerous rounds of summits with leaders from countries, all around the world. He's been hosted and has hosted many others. The question is, why Central Asia and why now?
President Yoon's focus on Central Asia is coming from several strategic considerations. Most importantly, for economic consideration, Central Asia is a region with the rich natural resources like oil, gas, and minerals, which makes the region attractive for economic partnership and energy cooperation. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, Central Asia is located at the crossroads between Asia and Europe and the Middle East. So President Yoon can position South Korea as a valuable partner in regional development projects and economic initiatives.
So you're saying Central Asian countries possess what South Korea lacks, natural resources and core minerals, but instead South Korea has the technology to process those minerals. Then, Professor, please explain in detail how the synergy works and what such collaboration can lead to.
The synergy between Central Asian countries' natural resources and South Korea's technological expertise in mineral processing may lead to mutually beneficial collaboration. For example, South Korea's advanced technology in mineral processing can make efficient extraction and refining those resources possible. South Korea can secure a stable supply of raw materials for its industries, and Central Asian countries can be provided the technological know-how to enhance the extraction and processing capabilities. Also, both sides can benefit from infrastructure development. South Korea's expertise in construction, engineering, and project management can contribute to the development of transportation networks, energy infrastructure, and industrial facilities in Central Asia, which is expected to facilitate the efficient utilization of natural resources and to promote regional connectivity.
Right, and today, the leaders of South Korea and Uzbekistan are taking their time to broaden their cooperation in strategic areas on top of the core minerals and critical minerals that we just talked about. That is securing an advanced science technology hub. Now, how or in what ways can the two sides work together to do so?
I think that is a very interesting idea. Both sides can collaborate on joint research projects in strategic areas of science and technology, such as informational technology, biotechnology, renewable energy, and advanced materials, and so on. So both sides can accelerate innovation and technological advancement, which will lead to the creation of a vibrant research ecosystem within the hub. Also, both countries can collaborate on infrastructure development projects to support the establishment of the science and technology hub. This may include the construction of research facilities, innovation parks, incubators, technology transfer centers. So I think South Korean companies can play a key role in this process.
Definitely. Now, before I let you go, President Yoon has been highlighting the need for Central Asian countries' participation in dealing with North Korea issues. Now, why is that, and how can these Central Asian countries play, constructive roles in such matter?
As a matter of fact, Central Asian countries may not be central players in the North Korean issue, but their involvement can contribute to international effort to address the challenges posed by North Korea's nuclear program and to promote peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. So through diplomatic engagements, mediation, humanitarian assistance, and compliance with sanctions, Central Asian countries can play some kind of constructive roles in supporting diplomatic dialogue and efforts to achieve denuclearization and sustainable peace in Northeast Asia.
Definitely, especially when it comes to keeping that regional peace and security like you mentioned. All right, Professor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too.
The leaders of the U.S. and Ukraine signed a 10-year bilateral security agreement aimed at strengthening Ukraine's defense against Russia. And G7 members also agreed to lend Ukraine $50 billion using Russia's frozen assets. Lee Seung-jae has more.
This year's G7 summit, held in Italy, focused on a number of global issues, including the prolonged war in Ukraine. On the sidelines of the summit on Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky agreed on a 10-year security agreement aimed at strengthening Ukraine's defense against Russia. While the pact does not commit the U.S. to supply troops to defend Ukraine in case of an attack, it does commit Washington to hold high-level consultations with Kyiv within 24 hours if such an attack occurs. The U.S. will also continue to train Ukraine's military, deepen cooperation on defense industry production, and share more intelligence. The agreement also aims to help build Ukraine's long-term deterrence across multiple domains, including air, sea, and cybersecurity. Meanwhile, the G7 leaders also agreed on Thursday to lend Ukraine $50 billion using frozen Russian assets. While the final agreement still needs to be hashed out, most of the money would be lent by the U.S. government using windfall profits from the roughly $300 billion in frozen Russian assets. However, the vast majority of the frozen assets are being held in European Union nations. The U.S. and its allies froze all Russian central bank assets outside of Russia when Moscow invaded Ukraine in 2022. NATO will also aim for an agreement to provide over $42 billion in aid annually to Ukraine. Speaking at a press conference on the first day of the NATO defense ministers' meeting in Brussels on Thursday, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that the agreement could be signed next month at the NATO summit in Washington. He added that the burden of annual financial support would be shared equally among the Security Alliance members. However, Hungary, which has long opposed military support to Ukraine, withdrew from the plan early on. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
As the date for planned mass walkouts from big universities and smaller community hospitals approaches, the government has announced plans for dealing with this situation in the coming weeks. Our Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
South Korea's government has vowed to take a strong stance against no-show medical professionals, as doctors and medical school professors are due to take collective action starting next week. During an emergency briefing on Thursday, the government stated that as medical law stipulates, a medical practitioner cannot refuse to treat patients without a justifiable reason. The planned walkouts would be treated as illegal acts.
Government will prioritize the people's lives and health and maintain emergency medical care while responding firmly against illegal actions.
Members of the Medical Professors Association of Korea, with professors at 40 universities around the country, will take a day off next Tuesday in solidarity with the Korea Medical Association in a move against the government's medical school quota hike. In a separate move, other major university hospitals are scheduling indefinite walkouts, the first being professors at Seoul National University Hospital starting next Monday. They attempted to ease the public's concerns by stating that only scheduled appointments and surgeries would be affected, and emergency treatment and the intensive care unit would be supplemented with additional staff. The Emergency Response Committee for Medical Professors at SNU is due to hold a press conference on Friday afternoon to explain its stance further. On the day of mass walkouts, the government plans to note which medical institutions are participating in collective action and will issue an administrative order to return to work if leaves of absence surpass 30% in each city. With little time left until the day of action, the KMA said it could reconsider if the government changes its stance and requested talks with the KMA as a representative of the medical body. The statement has been met with backlash from other doctors' groups, such as the one for junior doctors, with its head declaring on his personal Facebook page that the KMA does not represent them. Meanwhile, groups representing patients' rights responded to the news with a demand to withdraw collective action plans that threaten the lives and welfare of patients. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
The Korea Economic Research Institute on Thursday revised South Korea's economic growth rate for this year up from its previous 2% forecast to 2.4%. The institute cited improvement in export performance due to an improved global economy as the reason for the upward revision. It said the increase in semiconductor exports, thanks to greater demand for AI, will be a major factor in improving the overall export performance. However, the recovery in domestic demand will be delayed until the high exchange rate and high inflation trends ease.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong, and now we turn off to stories from around the world. Former U.S. President Donald Trump returned to Capitol Hill on Thursday for the first time since the January 6th riot of 2021. Trump gathered the full House of Republican lawmakers, where he delivered freewheeling remarks. Let's have a look at what he said.
As you know, with the full House, Republican House today, and we had a tremendous meeting with them also, and there's great unity. And there's one thing in common: we want to make America great again. We want to make our country great again. We're a nation that's in decline. We're a declining nation. We're a nation that is being laughed at all over the world. We have a leader that's being laughed at all over the world.
Trump spent about an hour delivering remarks on topics including Russia, immigration and abortion, as well as stressing unity among Republicans and promising to work out differences within the party. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, a known critic of Donald Trump, called the visit really positive, adding that he got a lot of standing ovations. Former Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, on the other hand, released a statement saying that Trump was returning to the scene of the crime. Tesla shareholders on Thursday reapproved a pay package worth around some $50 billion for the company's CEO Elon Musk, a compensation package previously thrown out by the Delaware judge earlier this year. Shareholders voted on two measures: Musk's pay package from 2018, which allows him to buy 303 million Tesla shares at a hugely reduced price, and the transfer of the electronic car company's incorporation state from Delaware to Texas. Tesla did not disclose the exact vote results, but Elon Musk posted on his social media X overnight that he had the support needed to pass the measures. The Tesla CEO won't receive the all-stock compensation package immediately. The pay package will likely remain tied up in the Delaware court for an extended period of time as Tesla appeals the court's rejection. U.S. transgender swimmer Lia Thomas lost an appeal against World Aquatics at the Court of Arbitration for Sport on Wednesday, challenging its policy barring transgender athletes from women's competition. 25-year-old Thomas became the first transgender NCAA champion in Division I history, but was later barred from elite-level competition because of a World Aquatics policy that says only transgender athletes who complete transition before the age of 12 are allowed to compete. Thomas will now be ineligible for women's trials for this summer's Paris Olympics. Over 1.5 million Muslim pilgrims have made the journey to Saudi Arabia's holy city of Mecca, as Friday, the 14th of June, marks the start of this year's Hajj. One of the world's largest annual religious gatherings, the Hajj is seen as the most significant manifestation of Islamic faith and unity, and must be performed at least once in a lifetime by all Muslims with the means to do so. The official Saudi press agency reported that as of late Monday, some 1.5 million pilgrims arrived in Saudi Arabia from abroad for the 5-day religious ritual. The Gulf Kingdom's Minister of Religious Pilgrimages stressed that no political activity will be tolerated and that the focus must be on the prayers.
Good morning. The blistering heat wave continues today with record-breaking warmth in store for the capital area. And it seems people are more exhausted and stressed from the heat nowadays, knowing it's only mid-June and it will only get hotter through August. So it is important to be aware of the signs and symptoms associated with heat-related issues. Drink plenty of water and stay in an air-conditioned area during the hottest parts of the day. And this afternoon, Seoul and Gwangju will get up to 33 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Gyeongju, Daejeon will see a high of 34 degrees with very high UV rays nationwide and a chance of passing rain in southern inland regions. Speaking of rain, the capital and Gangwon-do province and Jeju Island could see 5 to 20 millimeters of showers tomorrow, while southern parts of Korea could see passing rain. And that rain will bring much needed heat relief to the upper regions, but not so much to southern provinces. Then temperatures continue to stay above norms next week. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next Monday at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, who's mine? Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
입니다. 하나 스탠바이. 방포 스타트.
얘들아, 그 소식 들었어?
뭐야?
좀비 바이러스가 퍼지고 있대.
너무 무서워. 어떡해. 좀비 바이러스에 걸리면 어떤 증상이 있는데?
내가 듣기론 계속 포에버 생각만 나고 막 눈앞에 아른거린대.
잠깐만. 요즘 딱 내가 그런데?
미아한테 그런 증상이 있다고?
나 그럼 이제 어떻게 되는 거야?
미아를 치료할 방법이 없을까?
아무래도 내 생각에는 우리 포에버를 만나는 게 바로 유일한 치료 방법일 것 같아.
맞아. 근데 잠깐, 포에버를 어떻게 만나지?
심플리 케이팝 콘터에서 만나면 되지. 포에버가 우리 목소리를 들을 수 있도록 크게 한번 불러보자. 다들 준비됐어?
둘, 셋, 넷. I'm a zombie. 망가져가지만 비었지. Love me, leave me. 똥처럼 퍼지는 기억이.
아주 좋아. 이 정도면 우리 포에버가 잘 찾아올 수 있겠어. Then next week, simply control.
Don't miss out.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 웰컴. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, who's mine? Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, June 14th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and this is News Generation. Today we're joined by Cheska Dainhong.
Happy Friday, everyone!
Finally, it's Friday! And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Now, as usual, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online over the past 24 hours. A survey released on Thursday shows that the most respected figure in Korea is Admiral Lee Sun-shin, who defeated the Japanese Navy during the Joseon Dynasty's Injin War in the 16th century. Now, this is according to a survey conducted by Gallup Korea, which polled over 1,700 people aged 13 and older. In second place was King Sejong the Great, who was behind the invention of the Korean alphabet Hangul, followed by former President Park Chung-hee, who is credited with leading Korea's rapid economic development during the 1960s and 70s. Now, moving on, meanwhile, in Denmark, the country's food agency issued recall warnings on Tuesday for 3 flavors of Samyang's 불닭, or hot chicken flavored ramyeon. The agency claimed that the capsaicin levels in these products could be harmful to consumers. However, Samyang says there is no issue with the quality of its products. Now, this is the first recall of these noodles in any country since the line was released in 2012. Yesterday, June 13th, marked the 11th anniversary of the debut of K-pop superstars BTS, and to celebrate, the group held their annual BTS Festa, which featured various fan activities, including BTS-themed photo booths and souvenir vending machines. The event's highlight was member Jin's fan meet and greet session in the afternoon. Having just completed his mandatory military service the day before, Jin hosted the event and hugged 8,000 fans selected through a raffle. And I actually went to cover the event yesterday, and though the temperature was above 30 degrees Celsius, the festival site, which was actually outdoors, was packed with people. So here in the studio, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts after seeing the footage on the jam-packed festival site, and what do you think is contributing to BTS's extreme popularity worldwide?
Well, I mean, it just goes to show the power of BTS compared to all the other bands, even though, you know, bands like Blackpink as well as IVE, etc., are taking the stage by storm. BTS still has the #1 spot when it comes to the biggest K-pop bands in the world, and it just shows you also how hardcore the fandom is. Usually when bands go on hiatus, fans usually go to the next big thing that's coming up, and they move along because they're not just in love with the bands themselves, they're in love with the genre like as well. But it seems BTS fans, ARMY, they are just in love with this one group, and it was great to see Jin was hosting the event as well, and that they were actually able to see at least one member of the BTS group, because otherwise it would have been strange having this big celebration without any one of them being there. But yes, the ARMY hearts will go on, and they will continue for many, many years, I feel.
Right, and I think that Jin just coming back from the military kind of gives more like energy and excitement to the fans, because now they have 1 member back, and they only have to wait for 6 more who will complete their mandatory military service by June next year. Now, what are your thoughts on this BTS phenomenon, Cheska?
You know, I always knew that BTS is such a big international fandom, but as you mentioned, when you covered the site, you told me that a lot of international fans actually flew specifically and only to attend this event.
Which is remarkable.
Which is remarkable, and I'm almost mesmerized by the commitment and the love they have for the BTS group. And I guess it goes to show the devotion and the commitment the ARMY really has for BTS. And as a Korean, I feel really proud.
Right.
Because as you talked about, I really do feel like they're leading this new trend as Koreans of being the Korean Beatles, or the Korean the Michael in terms of like the music industry. And I do hope that all the rest of the members finish their military service in good condition and rejoin the fans who are obviously very, very actively waiting for the members to return.
Maybe next year for the BTS Festa, which is an annual event, we'll get to see like all 7 members, hopefully, or even more, joining the event in person. And that was our news feed for this Friday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today we're going to explore a trend among millennials and Gen Z related to decoration. So let's first start by taking a look at the screen to find out more. Do you have keychains hanging from your bag? Or maybe your diary or phone case is decorated with stickers. This trend of personalizing everyday items like bags, diaries, phones, tumblers, and shoes has become hugely popular among millennials and Gen Z. Using keychains, badges, and stickers, they add a unique touch to their belongings. When did this trend start, and why has it become so popular? Right, as you've just seen in the VCR and the footage, we're going to talk about this decoration craze among the younger generation, millennials and Gen Z. And Chiska, I heard that especially these days, decorating your bags has become especially popular.
Yes.
So do you also agree on this? And if you think this is right, like what are some of the most creative ways that the younger generation is decorating their bags?
Yeah, you know, this is something very interesting because these are one of the things that if you start noticing, then you start seeing it everywhere.
Right, you can see it everywhere.
So I actually brought mine as an example. So I am one of those MZers that actually do decorate my bag with plushies and many more down there. But I think you will see a lot of backpacks and phones customized with like cute figurines, charms, even the plushies and the accessories, trinkets, everything that you can pretty much get your hands on.
Right.
And this has definitely become a trend in our generation and even the Gen Zs. And when you just walk around the subways or as we saw in the VCR, the streets, you will see people's bag decorated with like just dragging like earrings all over the place. And especially if we look at the figures, the market for keyrings also grew about 600%, which is a huge jump. I know. And so we'll discuss some of the reasons that this happened.
Right.
But I think it also has to do with the fact that, especially in Korea, there are so many cute things that come out.
Yeah.
So as a customer, I always get so excited just to like browse and then pick out which one I want to add next to my bag. Yeah.
Oh, I see, definitely. Well, I'm one of those people who's also into like decorating my bags. I didn't bring any of my plushies, but I have like 2 or 3 plushies on each of my bags. So I think that I'm definitely part of those who contributed to the 600% rise in keyring sales here in the country. Now, Cheska and I think that we're into decorating or personalizing our stuff. So now to you, Walter, are you also part of this trend or have you noticed this becoming
Are you part
popular?
of our group?
I stand alone here today as a minimalist person who has definitely noticed the trend. And
boring!
Yes, I am a little boring, but my wife is one of those people just like you two who likes to decorate her shoes. Now, she works for a particular shoe brand, and whenever she buys new shoes, she customizes the laces. So she gets the like sort of lacy laces and adds little trinkets to the laces as well. So this has become something very trendy for her. Like I said, I'm not exactly the most creative person when it comes to putting things on my bag. I like things to be very simple. But I know that creating charms, and as you could see by the VCR as well, there are a lot of shops dedicated to just making these products as well. But not just in stores, online markets as well have become a thing. People who have started using it as a hobby as well. So it seems that this market is continuing to grow. 600%, like Jessica said, is a huge rise. And it's just going to show that this generation is into their knickknacks and trinkets and whatever.
Right. And I think that I definitely see more like kits that are being sold both on and offline where you can like decorate your shoes or add patches or badges to your bags. And it's not only just decorating, but I think that even making your own items is becoming like a trend among our generation these days.
Absolutely, and we call that customizing or even branding.
Right.
And this is sort of a new trend as well in terms of the fact that now people aren't just purchasing like a pre-made brand, but as you mentioned, Yuzin, we are making our own brands.
We're creators.
Exactly, or branding our names. And another example is I branded my name in my passport case. So this is one of the examples that people actually create their own brands or expressing their identity through these little trinkets or even branding purposes. And one of the activities that I found while doing this research for the topic is in Korea it's called moru inyeong. I don't know if some of the viewers have already tried this, but it's making these little like wool figurines, plushies, by using the wires. And it's very easy to make. But what they do is once they make these little plushies, they put a keyring on it and they customize their bag.
Yeah, right. So it's actually creating and then decorating your own stuff.
Exactly.
It doubles the fun, I think. Do you agree?
Sounds thrilling. I just might have to change my simplistic style and go and do this.
Let's put some little like figurines in a woman's bag.
Well, but I think that a lot of people are finding this very exciting because while preparing for this episode, I actually discovered that many of our colleagues here at Arirang are already into personalizing their items. So today we've prepared a short interview on what they decorate and why.
I used to like to decorate my planner, mostly because I like to see my planner being filled with a lot of stuff that I like, but also I think I had some satisfaction and I felt sort of a pride when I was able to actually fill all that.
I felt like just carrying around my bag made it look too plain, especially since it's just one color. So I thought it would be nice to add something to it. I found some cute keychains online, bought one, and attached it to my bag.
At first, I just thought I need a case for my AirPods for protection. When I bought the case, it came with a keychain. I attached it, and then started getting more from nearby shops or as gifts from friends. Once I started, I couldn't stop adding more. I even began making some myself, and it just became a habit. Now my backpack has a frog plushie, and I think all my bags have keychains on them.
And I think a lot of people, what's trending right now is that they want to show their identity. They want to make their items as unique and outstanding on their own way as possible.
Adding a keychain really changed how my bag looked, and I loved it. So, after attaching one, I wanted to add more. I also have a Paris Olympics badge from a friend who went on a trip abroad. It felt meaningful, so I added that one too, and it made me feel even better.
I also attached a character keychain that looks a bit like me. When people see it and say, "It looks just like you," it really makes me happy.
So a lot of my friends seem to make their own like keyring or like stuff that they attach to their bags. Especially a lot of my friends like to make their own customized phone case. So they just buy like a bland phone case, which is like a clear phone case, and they'd either add like stickers onto it or like color it.
Most of my coworkers has keychains on their bags, and I've noticed that many people decorate their headphones. They put stickers on their headphones or use cases to personalize them. I've also seen a lot of people decorating things I wouldn't have expected, like employee ID cards.
Find what you like and try to integrate those into your own daily life so that it's not like a burden or you don't feel like decorating your stuff is a work. It's more like, oh, I'm doing this anyway and I might as well make it more colorful and like more enjoyable.
To lift my mood, I like to take different keychains based on how I'm feeling. If I'm in the mood for something cute, I'll choose a cute one. And if I want something pretty, I'll go for that.
On camera, you can really see big actions clearly. So, I think it's best to go bold with the keychains for them to stand out.
It's always just lovely, especially it's lovelier to see our colleagues being interviewed and seeing a VCR on them, and I'm really surprised how creative they can be. You saw the phone cases, the diaries, the bags, and also the wireless earphones. And it's actually not those items that our generation is decorating. We have much more items that we're into personalizing or customizing, right?
Absolutely. And as we saw in the VCR, the floor runners bundle of keychains was much bigger than the actual AirPod itself. So absolutely, we are going all above and beyond. According to the 중앙일보 article, this trend is actually called Ngu. So N means number of things, any number of things, and gu in Korean means to 꾸미다, which means to decorate. Meaning MZers would get their hands on anything and everything to decorate. And the activity has definitely become sort of a play culture in our generation. And I think it sort of happened during COVID, when people really started journaling or try to live this life called 갓생, which, as we discussed here in the news generation, meaning to have these little routines or things to keep you more motivated. And they started decorating their diaries. And then post-COVID, I think this kind of blew up to a new level where they started decorating cell phones and shoes, as Walter mentioned, attaching ribbon or accessories. But really, I think these are all very physical manifestation of who they are and their identity. And as we saw in the VCR, one of the interviewers said he likes it when people say, hey, that looks like you. Yeah. So it's more of a projecting a different identity or their identity into the things that they carry. not just to show off, but really to make themselves feel better, I think.
Right. So as Walter mentioned, it's definitely become a hobby. It's a play culture because our generation is really into expressing ourselves and showing our own unique color. And I think that this not only pertains to Korea, because recently I heard that millennials and Gen Z in the United States are into decorating their tumblers, right?
Yes. So tumblers obviously have become more of a fashion accessory these days because we're trying to reduce our footprint here. We're trying to be more green. So therefore, we need to buy tumblers. And a lot of people these days are, customizing just like you saw in the interviews with stickers as well as personalizing like Cheska's passport as well. Again, if you look at my tumbler, it is very, very boring because, as I said, I'm a minimalist.
Well, I think it's a chic. I think it's cool.
It's chic. Thank you. That's you're probably the only
You're being
one.
too nice. Am I?
But yes, as I said, you can customize a lot with a lot of stickers. As I said, people, and in America, they have the very big tumblers.
Right.
So they can definitely customize them as much as possible. But yes, I will stick to my normal black tumbler and keep it very clean. But yes, it's a very big trend also, not just in America, but around the world.
Right, and as you mentioned around the world, we also asked our viewers if decorating or personalizing items with key rings and straps and many more ingredients is popular in their country too, and here's what 3 of them said. So if we look at the comments, MIMS says, I'm a substitute teacher in the US, and I think every girl from kindergarten to 12th grade has a plushie charm, like me, hanging off their backpack. That's so adorable. And then Leon says, yes, character key rings, charms, and straps are popular among the MZ generation in Singapore as well. They are drawn to these items for similar reasons as their South Korean counterparts, self-expression, fandom affiliation, and cuteness. Namni Gwyn says, it depends on their purpose, but at my school, I rarely see one of these decorations because everyone tends to choose something more attractive. So these are some of the ways, unique and creative ways that our viewers from around the world are actually doing to personalize or customize their items. So I want to ask you, we're always curious about the reason behind this trend. So why do you think our generation is so into customization or personalization these days?
As we talked about a little bit before in terms of like the COVID and the self-expression part, I think there are 2 more things that we can look at. One of them is definitely affordability. So when I was doing the research, I actually found out that this trend happened in the past in our parents' generation.
90s?
Yeah, when they were college students. But for them, it was a lot of the college students couldn't afford to buy, the brand products or luxury products. So what they did is, in order to express themselves, they started adding trinkets that really identified with their identity, and that sort of took on as a trend. Now, in our generation, I think we took that to another level, and what we would call, quote unquote, meaning out consumption, which we also discussed in the studio. Which means people are now consuming things to express their social values or beliefs or characteristics that they want to identify with or they believe in over like goods or services. And it is really becoming active among our generations, as we can see. So even the trinkets that we buy, or for me, some of the things that I buy, I try to buy things that can physically manifest who I am or who I want to be.
Right, so it's definitely an affordable way where we can express ourselves, what we believe in, our beliefs, our characters, etc. Walter, what do you think are some of the other reasons?
Well, I've just come to think of it, it could be also addiction.
Very true.
It could be very true. To be honest with you, a lot of people out there are into collecting. It could be things like figurines or whatever. And once you stop, once you buy one, you can't stop. Just like Eugene with her plushies. Like she said that she likes them and she keeps collecting them. You also say that you're going to go do a Build-A-Bear thing when you go to America. So all these things become more of an addiction, more of something like, since I have this one, I got to get the next one. This one's also very cute. Or when they buy new items, that's like the first thing they think about. Which stickers can I put on there? It becomes sort of, like I said, a self-expression, but also just like a simple addiction in my point of view. And that's why I choose to stay away from it. Because
are you afraid that you won't be able to stop once you start?
I guess, yes. Once I start, I just don't think... It's like shopping. It's kind of like impulse shopping for me. I'm addicted to impulse shopping if I can't stop. And the last thing I want to be doing is constantly going online, buying all these new things. But I think it could be down to also addiction as well.
And Eugene, if I may add, I do like what Walter mentioned because, I mean, he said it addiction, but I would call it like affordable, which led to an addiction. Because nowadays, as we talked about, I think the price and the affordability is also important because of the inflation and the market. It's really tough for a lot of young people to find something or to buy something that can actually represent who they are. So in a way, these trinkets, as you know, as you and I know, being affordable does make it easier for us to kind of start creating these whole collections of keyrings and bundles, as we saw in the VCR, which does lead to these minor or maybe heavy addiction.
Right, it kind of gives us this whole new collection that kind of represents our identity and who we are, what we believe in. Now, this might be an obvious question based on what we talked about throughout the day, but do you think that this trend will continue, or just your general thoughts about what we talked today?
I think in terms of the trend, as we saw in our parents' generation, I think it will continue, and then it will probably be replaced by something new. But I think it is a very unique and, as we mentioned here, affordable and possibly healthy way to express who we are. Because, I mean, let's face it, I think it's better than going out and buying something so exorbitant and heavy. But one of the ways that I also try to do to myself is it does really become addictive and fun. So I try to actually limit how many trinkets I buy.
Really?
I really do, because I did realize, as we saw in the VCR, that my keychains are heavier than my wallet. That my bag sounds very loud whenever I walk
getting
around.
heavier.
Yes, I'm getting heavier and louder. So I think it is a healthy habit, but again, as we discussed here, everything in moderation I think is always the best.
Right, everything in moderation. Now, what about you, Walter? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm trying to be positive, take a positive spin on this, but yeah,
it's
I do.
2 versus 1, just to let you know.
Yes, I am definitely outnumbered. I do completely understand why people do it, and it's something that I'm not against. It's just not for me personally. The reasons why I personally don't like to do it is because one thing I do invest in a lot is technology, and a lot of people like to customize their laptops by adding stickers or adding whatever they want. For me, because I spend so much, I find it a little bit tacky that you put like certain things on it, and just in my mind, the psychology behind it is that I feel like it lowers the value, which it doesn't. It's just the way I feel. I did actually recently, after this researching for this episode, did buy a cover for my laptop, a sticker cover for my laptop, but it wasn't a very stylish one. It was a very simple black one, very boring. But I am trying to slowly get on the bandwagon of, you know, maybe having some sort of personality instead of my boring flat one.
That's you're slowly coming into the addiction side.
I don't think it's boring. I think that this is also a way to express yourself, and sometimes simple is the best. So NewsGen, we respect everybody's taste and preference.
Thank you.
Right, and that's all the time we have for today. But NewsGen is here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks today to Cheska Dainho.
Pleasure's always mine, thank you.
And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And thank you everyone for watching, and hope you have a great weekend. We are New Generation.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, look my way. Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
Welcome.